Imagine a world where children were stolen from their families at age 7, where failure meant starvation, where weakness meant death. This wasn't a dystopian nightmare. This was Monday morning for a Spartan child. Welcome to the most brutal training methods in history, where civilizations didn't just train soldiers. They forged weapons out of human flesh. And today, we're exposing the 7 most savage training regimens ever devised. Trust me, number 3 will make you grateful for your gym membership. Let's start with the granddaddies of brutal training. The Spartans. At age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their mothers, thrown into the Agoge, a training system designed to break you before rebuilding you as a killing machine. They were given 1 tunic per year, no shoes, no blankets. They had to sleep on reeds they plucked from the riverbank, with their bare hands. In winter, but that's just the warm-up. At age 12, the real horror began. They were deliberately underfed. Starvation was the point, because Spartans believed hunger made you cunning. So boys were encouraged to steal food. But here's the twist. If you got caught stealing, you weren't punished for stealing. You were punished for being bad at it. Beaten bloody with whips, sometimes to death. And the famous Kryptia? The secret police training. Teenage Spartans were sent into the countryside, with nothing but a dagger. Their mission? Hide during the day. At night, sneak into helot villages and murder any strong slaves they found, just to keep the population terrified. This was their final exam. Graduation required blood, but wait. The Romans had something even darker. Decimation. Imagine your entire legion retreating from battle. Cowardice. So the commander lines everyone up, divides them into groups of 10, then draws lots. Whoever gets the short straw, his 9 comrades beat him to death, with their bare hands, or clubs. 1 in 10 men, executed by their own friends. For the crime of losing, the survivors? They had to eat barley instead of wheat, sleep outside the camp, in enemy territory. Talk about team building. Nothing bonds soldiers like murdering their friends. Now let's travel north, to the land of ice, axes, and madness. The Vikings. Specifically, the Berserkers. These warriors didn't just train hard. They trained insane. Before battle, they performed rituals, drinking wolf's blood, eating hallucinogenic mushrooms, screaming until they foamed at the mouth. They'd bite their own shields, howl like wolves, work themselves into such a frenzy. They'd feel no pain, no fear, just rage. Their training? Brutal. Young warriors had to fight in blizzards, naked, to prove they could endure anything. They'd wrestle bears. Literally. If you survived, you earned the right to wear the bear's pelt. If you didn't, well, at least you died warm. But here's where it gets weird. Some historians believe berserkers used psychoactive drugs, henbane mushrooms, which caused hallucinations, made them immune to pain, turned them into frothing beasts. Their training wasn't just physical. It was chemical warfare, against their own minds. Now let's head east, to feudal Japan, where samurai training began at birth. Literally, a samurai child's first toy, a wooden sword. By age 5, they were training with real blades. Sharp ones. At age 7, they entered the dojo. 12 hours a day. Every day, sword practice, archery, horsemanship, jujitsu. But the mental training was worse. Young samurai had to visit graveyards at night, stand among the dead, meditate on death. For hours, they practiced striking corpses to overcome their fear of killing. Some masters would sneak up on sleeping students and attack with wooden swords. If you died in your sleep, you weren't ready. The ultimate pop quiz, with fatal consequences, and the test of courage. A young samurai had to enter an execution ground at midnight, strike a corpse with his sword. If he ran away, he lost his honor. If he vomited, acceptable. If he died of fright, well, at least he died trying. But the Mongols? They had a different kind of brutal. Genghis Khan didn't care about honor. He cared about results. Mongol children learned to ride horses at age 3. Before they could walk properly, they were tied to the saddle, so they couldn't fall off. Even when exhausted, archery training started at age 5. But here's the kicker. They had to shoot accurately, while riding at full gallop. Backwards. Yes, backwards. Because Mongol tactics required shooting while retreating. So they practiced for hours, until their arms bled, until they could hit a coin at 50 paces, while riding blind. In the survival training. Brutal. Young warriors were sent into the wilderness, alone, for weeks, with minimal supplies. If they came back alive, they passed. If they didn't, natural selection. The Mongols didn't waste time on the weak. Now let's talk about the Aztecs. The jaguar and eagle warriors. Their training? Religious terrorism. Young Aztecs trained in the Telpacali military schools, where they learned to fight and sacrifice. But to become an elite warrior, you had to capture prisoners. Alive. In battle. Your first capture? Just a regular soldier. Your second? A brave enemy. Your third? Congratulations. You're now a jaguar warrior, wearing actual jaguar pelts, ready to rip out hearts. But the training was sadistic. Warriors practiced on captured enemies, tied to a stone, given a fake weapon, while the warrior used a real one. It wasn't training. It was execution practice, with a live target, and the final test? The flower wars. Ritual battles, where the goal wasn't to kill. It was to capture, for sacrifice. Imagine training your whole life, just to drag someone to an altar and cut out their heart while they're still awake. That's Monday for an Aztec warrior. But here's the most brutal of them all. The Shaolin monks. Yes, monks. Their training makes everything else look like a spa day. Young monks started at age 6. They had to stand on one leg for hours, while masters hit them with sticks. If they fell, more beating. They trained in freezing water, barefoot on hot coals, punching trees until their knuckles shattered, then healed, then shattered again. The iron body training? Monks would strike their bodies with iron bars daily, for years, until they could break bricks with their foreheads, literally, headbutting through wooden planks, while barely breaking a sweat. And the meditation, sitting perfectly still, for days, while insects crawled on them, while hunger gnawed at them, while pain screamed through their legs. If they moved, they failed. The Shaolin didn't train the body. They tortured it, until it became a weapon. Oh, which training was the worst? The Spartans who murdered children? The Romans who killed their own? The Vikings who fought bears? Or the monks who broke themselves? Here's the truth. Every single one worked. These training methods created legends. Warriors who feared nothing, felt no pain, won impossible battles. But at what cost? How many children died in training? How many minds broke? How many souls were lost? We'll never know, because history only remembers the survivors, the monsters they created, the legends they became. Next time you skip leg day, remember the Spartan boy, frozen, starving, beaten, but still standing, because weakness meant death, and he chose to live. Which training method was the most brutal? Drop your answer in the comments, and subscribe for more dark history, because the past wasn't pretty. It was brutal, and we're just getting started.